Good morning and welcome back to TESOL 2022. My name is Amy Sweezy. You are watching TESOL TV and day one is underway. I am here with a very special guest and author. This is Gilda Martinez Alba. And Gilda, first of all, I really want to know about you have two books to talk about. So let's talk about the first book. You co-authored or co-wrote Social Emotional Learning in the English Language Classroom. Tell me who your co-author was and a little bit about the book.
So my co-author is Luis Javier Penton Herrera, and he is currently at the University of Warsaw in Poland, and he has become quite a good friend as the process of this book has unfolded. But social emotional learning in the English language classroom is so important right now more than ever, because as you know, with your multilingual learners, they're going through the struggle of learning the language, but then they might also have experienced some trauma coming over to the country. They might also have a disability, may or may not, but if you compound those issues, it makes it very important to integrate this. But now add to that COVID, where the students have had to go online, and then they go back in person, then they go online, and that's been really difficult for even your native English students to understand the system, what's going on. So if they don't know English, it makes it extra difficult. So with social emotional learning, the idea is that you help your students learn to be self-aware about their emotions, to learn about how to understand others' emotions, how to help the students manage those emotions, and then also how to work with their relationship skills and to make good decisions. And these are all important things when you think about teaching, because if you have a student that's in your class that cannot focus because they have all these things going on in their head, something simple like that we have described in the book as starting the class with a meditation exercise. I know I like to use a GIF, which is like a cartoon that grows and then it contracts, and you breathe with it. You do that just for a few minutes and have the students think about positivity and think about things that make them feel good, and then just let go of those negative emotions, and then you start the class. And so you might have heard that some authors are saying right now that, oh well, teachers shouldn't have to do social emotional learning because we're not therapists. But when you think about it, if the student is in your class and they can't focus and they're having a lot of struggle in their life, what you want is for them to succeed academically. So by doing some of these simple activities, so it's not like you're sitting there doing a whole therapy session. You're just having some meditation, and we have a lot of different activities and ideas throughout the book that show how it can be done. We have teachers that have done it, and then they showcase what they do and how it works for them. And so teachers can really see, educators can really see how it works.
Do you feel like this is something that's always been important, or do you think especially because of the pandemic, is right now an important time to focus on this topic?
Absolutely. It's always been important, and it's especially for your multilingual learners, but with the pandemic, especially important, because all of the students are feeling very anxious about it. And so this, if the teachers know how to help the students become aware of their emotions and how to manage that, it's really helpful to then have them succeed academically.
And we're talking specifically about the kids, but what about the teachers? We keep hearing stories in the news, teachers are burned out. They're done, they're exhausted, they don't have enough resources. They're leaving the profession. How important is it for teachers to find some self-care?
Well, that's actually very critical right now, more than ever, because the retention rates are going down nationally in the U.S., but also worldwide because of the need for self-care. So something that I talk about in the book is an example where you calendarize your day. So for example, people talk about, oh, exercise is so good for self-care. And everybody always says, well, I don't have time to exercise, or at the end of the day, I'm too tired to exercise. So by calendarizing your day, you kind of think about, okay, where can I fit it in? So for example, in my calendarized day, I'll fit in some yoga stretches, when I have a break, 10 minutes, but it makes such a difference for me. So I think it's important to figure out what works for you. Another thing that works for me that I share is, taking walks outside. So just 20 minutes during my lunch, I go outside, I have that air coming through my hair and the sun, and it just refreshes you, and you could go back. But the other thing to consider is that self-care shouldn't fall completely on the teachers or the educators. Supervisors, organizations, institutions really need to provide the time and the space for the self-care. So for example, one of the counties that, Maryland, I heard recently, is giving teachers periodically a half day where they're supposed to work in their teams on self-care. So one of the teams that I heard is doing, they'll go to lunch and then they go on a hike.
Oh, nice.
And they're not really supposed to talk about work, it's just supposed to be to refresh. And so that's kind of the idea, make it work for you, but talk to your supervisors to make it institutionalized so that you get the time and the space. And it's not all on you.
Right. And add it to your calendar, right?
Yes.
So that would be important for me too, because it's like, oh, I'll do it maybe later. It's like, no, I'm doing it at 3 o'clock.
Exactly. To remind you, it's a visual reminder too.
Yes, I love that. That's perfect. You actually have written a second book as well for TESOL Press. Tell us a little bit about that. You were showing me this earlier. This is really cool.
Yeah, so this is Wordless books, So Much to Say. And I actually love wordless picture books because they're basically picture books without any words. And so what I have found to be so successful is that, if you have a beginning multilingual learner that has no English skills whatsoever, you hand them the wordless book, and you can talk to them about, share with me what you know about it or just go through it, and they can feel successful. But if you have an intermediate or advanced multilingual learner, they can work on their writing skills because they could become the author. And so I know sometimes people say, well, my older students, I don't feel comfortable using the wordless books because they're for kids or younger kids.
Right.
But really, if you make them the author, it's how you couch it really makes a big difference. And the other thing that I have found is that families, they really light up, especially if they don't know any English or they don't know how to read it even in their native language. So you give them this wordless book and they could participate in the workshop, and you tell them, please use your native language. Your students, your children, the more that they learn in their native language, the more they can transfer those skills to the second language or the third language. And so when they realize that how much they could help providing like the motivation of reading, the joy of reading, and how important that is, it becomes wonderful.
Yeah, you brought some examples, right? Of the
I sure did.
Books.
I sure did. So this particular book, Mirror, I love because it shows within it the different lives. And so here you have on this side a child that's in Australia, and it talks about their day just through pictures. And then here you have a child from Morocco. And as you go through the book page by page, you just keep opening it and you can compare the two lives and have a deep conversation without even having to read anything. And then this one is one of my other favorites. I have a lot of favorites, but this one is my other favorite. That's called Chalk. And in this book, the children, they find a bag. Let me show you here. And in this bag, you see there's some chalk. And as you go through the book, what you realize is that as they draw the things, everything that they draw comes to life. And so what's neat about it is that you can have conversations about, the vocabulary, which have to do with emotions. So let's say, how does that make you feel? Oh, well, wow, that makes me feel so happy because I wanted the sun to come out.
Right.
Or that makes me feel excited because that's so, exciting to see my drawings come to life. And so this book, when you get towards the end of the book, what happens is that they draw a dinosaur and the dinosaur comes to life, and the children get really scared.
I bet.
So as you can see, they start to hide in the playground. And so you could even talk to your students about, well, if you wanted to, what makes you scared, what makes you frustrated, and get to those emotions by using the book. So that's kind of bringing it full circle back to social emotional learning, which I didn't actually talk about wordless picture books in this book, but next time.
But next time, exactly.
Next time.
Book 3 is around the corner,
That's right.
I bet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know you are a big, TESOL attender. You've been to these conventions and a member of the organization. What do you love about being here?
Well, I absolutely love the connections that I've made over the years. And so some of my good friends don't live anywhere near me, but once a year, we always meet up and we're here at TESOL, and then we could connect and see what future projects we could do or just catch up on our personal lives.
All right, great. Gilda Martinez, Alba, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Perfect. You're watching TESOL TV.